Vedas versus Modern Atomic Theory, Part 2, The Sage and the Scientist. The archive door opened just enough to let in a strip of pale hallway light. Daniel didn't move. The basement was supposed to be empty after 8 p.m. The security guard never came down here. No one did. The door stopped halfway. No footsteps, no voice. Just the hum of old fluorescent lights and the fading echo of thunder outside. Daniel swallowed and slowly turned his chair. The hallway was empty. The door hung open like an invitation, or warning. He stood up carefully and walked toward it. His shoes made a soft scraping sound on the concrete floor. When he reached the doorway, he leaned out and looked left. Nothing. Right. Nothing. But when he turned back toward the archive room, the computer screen was glowing brighter than before, brighter than it should have been. He stepped back inside. The mysterious document was still open. "Do you want to see the first atom?" The words blinked once. Then a second line appeared. "Knowledge does not move forward, it moves in circles." Daniel's mind raced. Someone was messing with him, a prank, a glitch, a hacker. But deep down, he knew that explanation felt too easy. He slowly returned to the chair and sat down. His hands hovered over the keyboard. Against his better judgment, he typed one word: yes. The screen went completely white. When the image faded back in, it wasn't text anymore. It was an illustration, a hand-drawn diagram of tiny spheres combining into trees and triplets. Next to it was Sanskrit writing. Below that, an English translation. 2 anu form a dvyanuka. 3 form a trianuka. From these arise visible matter. Daniel's heart pounded. This wasn't random philosophy. This was a structured theory of molecular formation. He leaned closer. The diagram looked primitive, but the logic was clear. Small, invisible units combine to create larger structures. That is exactly how modern atomic bonding works. But how could this idea exist without microscopes, without particle accelerators, without mathematics? Daniel's physics professor had once explained how the ancient Greek philosopher Democritus proposed atoms as indivisible particles around 400 BCE. It was considered a philosophical guess, not a scientific discovery. But the Indian philosopher Kanada developed a far more detailed system. He didn't just say everything is made of atoms. He categorized types of atoms, described motion, explained combination rules. It was systematic, experimental in spirit, yet it vanished from mainstream scientific history. Why? The screen shifted again. Now it showed a timeline. On one side, ancient Vedic thinkers. On the other, modern physicists. The names appeared slowly. Kanada, Isaac Newton, John Dalton, J.J. Thomson, Erwin Schrödinger. The line connecting them was not straight. It curved, looped, crossed itself, like an orbit. Daniel felt something strange, not fear, recognition, as if the past and present were having a quiet conversation and he had just walked in on it. Outside, the storm intensified. Rain slammed against the basement window. Thunder cracked so loudly the shelves vibrated. But inside the room, the screen was calm, steady, waiting. Another image appeared. This time, it was not ancient. It was a black and white photograph of a laboratory. Metal instruments, glass tubes, electrical coils. The caption read, "Cathode Ray Experiment, 1897. Daniel knew this. This was the experiment that revealed the electron, proof that atoms were divisible, proof that the ancient idea of indivisible matter was wrong, or so everyone believed. The screen zoomed into a handwritten margin beside the experiment diagram. The atom is not solid.
It is structured emptiness. Daniel blinked. Structured emptiness. That phrase echoed something he had read earlier in the Sanskrit text. Form emerges from the dance of the unseen. Dance, motion, vibration, patterns. The language was different. The meaning felt similar. Modern atomic theory says atoms are mostly empty space. The nucleus is tiny. Electrons exist as probability clouds, not fixed particles. If you removed the empty space from all the atoms in your body, you would shrink to the size of a grain of sand. Yet you feel solid. Your world feels continuous. But at its core, it is not. It is vibration, held together by forces. Forces that cannot be seen directly, only measured.
The screen flickered again. Now 2 columns appeared side by side. Left column, ancient view. Right column, modern view. Ancient view. Matter is composed of indivisible units called anu. Atoms combine to form complex substances. Reality arises from motion and combination. Modern view. Matter is composed of atoms. Atoms combine to form molecules. Reality emerges from interactions and quantum fields. Daniel stared at the symmetry. Was this coincidence? Parallel thinking? Or something deeper? He suddenly remembered a sentence from his philosophy class. Different civilizations ask the same questions. Only the language changes. Maybe that was the answer. Human curiosity is universal. Given enough time, different cultures might reach similar conclusions independently. That would explain everything. Simple, rational, comfortable. But the screen changed again, and comfort disappeared. A new message appeared. What if they were not guessing? Daniel's breath caught. The next line followed. What if they were observing differently? Observing differently. Without telescopes, without microscopes, without machines. How? Meditation? Introspection? Symbolism? Metaphor? Could deep philosophical inquiry uncover truths about physical reality? Or was Daniel falling into confirmation bias, seeing patterns that weren't really there? Science is built on measurement, repeatable experiments, quantifiable evidence. Ancient philosophy was built on contemplation, logical reasoning, inner exploration. 2 completely different methods, yet sometimes they seem to land on strangely similar ideas. Was that meaningful? Or just coincidence amplified by modern imagination? The basement lights flickered violently. For a moment, everything went dark. When the lights returned, the screen displayed one final image. A circle. Inside it, smaller circles. Inside those, even smaller points. Zooming inward endlessly. Below it, a single sentence. You are not looking at atoms. Atoms are looking at you. Daniel's pulse raced. That sentence made no sense. And yet, in quantum mechanics, observation affects outcome. Particles behave differently when measured. Reality responds to attention. So who is observing whom? The archive door behind him slowly creaked again. This time he heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming down the hallway. Not the lazy shuffle of the security guard, something else. Daniel turned in his chair. The footsteps stopped just outside the door. A shadow appeared on the wall, tall, still, waiting. The computer screen went black. One last line appeared in glowing white letters. Part 3 begins when you understand the question.
Then everything shut off. Daniel was no longer alone.